show. Today, Peter and I will discuss why we never got into an intimate relationship with one another, and why our potential love child remains non-existent, even though we both agree that we have very good genetics.
Pamela, are you going to tell the viewers the real reason for today's discussion? Or should I tell them myself?
I was just kidding. Peter and I aren't actually romantically attracted to one another. We always have been and always will be. Just good friends. Although I love him very much. I'm sorry. I'm just in a playful mood today. Too much orange juice and gin before the show. Okay. I'll get on course. Today is our turn to discuss our differences.
At last. Why do you think some people have difficulty telling us apart?
Well, we're both intuitive, abstract, futuristic thinkers who use the same cognitive functions, but in a different order. Because I have the potential to spend a lot of time alone working on projects in my head, I can sometimes come across as an introvert.
Yes. And when I get on a topic of discussion that I find personally interesting, I can become quite talkative and animated. And so at certain times my enthusiasm may cause me to appear to be more extroverted than I am.
But when you examine our cognitive function stack, it becomes more apparent how we operate differently from one another.
Very true.
I think that explaining the difference in our dominant function will help the viewers to understand how our primary focus differs.
Yes. I lead with dominant introverted thinking, and you lead with dominant extroverted intuition.
So what's it like to be TI dominant?
Leading with TI means that I'm primarily focused on calculative speculation. This involves making sense of whatever I'm thinking about. Therefore, I'm drawn towards subjectively reasoning out concepts and theories, rationalizing data, making speculative calculations, and seeking to maintain logical consistency within my mind. I operate first and foremost in alignment with my personal interests, and I'm drawn to focus upon thinking philosophically about the subjects and topics that I find personally meaningful. What's it like to lead with extroverted intuition?
I live primarily in the realm of abstract ideas. I'm first and foremost connecting the dots between various different concepts, linking theories, thinking of the possibilities, and the bigger picture of what-ifs that could occur in future. Because my ENTP is dominant, I'm very imaginative and my perception of the world is always generating something new. Brainstorming ideas is both fun and mentally invigorating for me. It's how I form a relationship with the outer world. My mind is a hive of creative potential. I'm drawn to connect with ideas that I want to explore. So it's easy for me to develop new interests and to switch between them unrestrictedly, with minimal personal attachment.
Interesting. In socionics they say that introverted feeling is your blind spot. So being FI blind may significantly impact the way in which you select your interests and your subsequent level of commitment.
Maybe. You could be right. But to confirm or disconfirm your hypothesis, I would need to think about that some more.
Being TI dominant means that I lead with the personal judging function. I think because of this I tend to have greater personal attachment to my ideas than you. When I say something I tend to mean it, or at least believe it to be true, whereas you on the other hand.
Well, I would say that I'm drawn toward being more experimental with my ideas. In social interactions, I've been known to share random concepts and ideas that spontaneously come to mind, sometimes for the purpose of learning, but oftentimes just for fun.
Exactly. That brings us to another point. You have extroverted feeling in third place, whilst mine is fourth. How do you think that makes us different?
My third place FE can be pretty strong, which means that I'm drawn to consider the workings of society, and I'm more inclined towards getting people on board with my schemes. I'm interested in how other people react and respond to my thoughts. I enjoy bouncing my ideas off of others.
You've been accused of trolling. More than a couple times.
Yes. But I've developed better social understanding through my experiences. And I know where to draw the line. What can I say? I'm a socially experimental type of girl. How do you see your fourth place FE working out?
I'm primarily drawn to engage in solitary activities. Spending too much time around others can be energetically draining for me. So I need a lot of alone time. And there's another point we forgot to mention. In terms of how our dominant function sets us apart.
Go on.
Being anti-dominant means that it's easier for you to spring into action in response to your emerging ideas. Whilst I tend to need to calculate my next move more extensively before I proceed.
Good point. In socionics they say that extroverted sensing is your blind spot. I think that this could impede you from taking spontaneous action in the moment. What do you think of that?
Could be a contributing factor. However, as you know, I act upon the ideas that I find make the greatest personal sense to me. And my NE is useful for generating the various possible paths I can take to get the outcomes that I want. But, because I enjoy exploring concepts and theories, just for the sake of it, when I think, it's not always about achieving an end goal.
I can relate. I use my second place introverted thinking to figure out which of my ideas are most reasonable, feasible, or logically sound. Questioning my own ideas can be a really great source of learning. I also tend to gravitate towards being philosophical about life. And I need to make sense of the world in accordance with my own personal framework of understanding.
I think it's true to say, we both have very complicated minds. Indeed.
To finish off, it would be a good idea to discuss how your SI in third place and my SI in fourth place makes us different.
I tend to draw upon and utilize my past experiences and factor this into my logical reasoning process when making decisions. This can facilitate me in the process of specialization in a specific topic area or field of interest, should I choose to go in the direction.
Having SI in fourth place means that it can be challenging to formulate and stick to routines. Sometimes, I can come across as a scatterbrain.
Sometimes.
It's a challenge to keep track of the sensory world. But I'm working on it. There is a lot more to the topic of how we operate differently. But I think that the points we've made today will give the viewers a clearer idea of how to tell us apart by way of our cognitive functioning.
Yes, I agree.
So it's goodbye from me. And goodbye from the guy on my right, also known as Peter, who is very probably my actual baby daddy in a parallel universe. Sorry. I just couldn't resist saying it.